Welcome, everyone, to the Healing Lounge. Today, we are honored to sit down with Ann Ross, aka the Dreaded F-Word Lady, a holistic health practitioner, certified nutrition consultant, and certified wellness consultant with over 30 years of experience in holistic living. Anne's journey into holistic health and wellness began at a young age, inspired by her grandmother, a homeopathic doctor and health food store owner. This early exposure ignited her passion for holistic healing, nutrition, and wellness, a path she has followed ever since. She pursued her studies at the American College of Healthcare Sciences in Portland, Oregon, earning credentials in holistic health, nutrition, and wellness consulting. As a mother of 6 and grandmother of 7, has not only embraced holistic living herself, but has instilled these values in her family as well. Her dedication to empowering others on their healing journey makes her an inspiring force in the world of holistic wellness. Join us as we explore holistic health, natural healing, the importance of nutrition, and overall well-being with Ann Ross, aka Dreaded F-Word Lady. Ann, Dreaded F-Word Lady, how are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me. I am super excited to be here and always honored to spend time with you, my friend.
Likewise. Yes, it's such a blast when we hang out and just have our talks and
Yeah.
on, and it's so inspiring. And definitely just hearing more about your journey and your story. I feel like it's important and vital for others to hear
Yeah.
your journey and what you do and why you do it. I think it's an inspiration to us all. So thank you again, Anne, for being here and for taking the time out of your busy schedule. Yes, let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Where to start? I love what I do. I absolutely love what I do. I feel like this is my calling. Like it's always been a part, holistic living just always makes sense to me. As you mentioned in my intro, being exposed to it when I was younger with that grandma, she started treating me and guiding me when I was in my teens, my early teens. And I was a sick kid. Like I wasn't a well kid. I remember being in and out of the doctor's office all the time. Now, my mother was an aspiring nurse. Prior to her being married to my father, she was married to who later became an orthopedic surgeon. So they were very allopathic. If you had a cough, you went to the doctor. If you had a sniffle, you went to the doctor. So I feel like I spent a lot of time at the doctor's office as a kid. And as I became a teenager and spent more time with the grandmother, who was from Texas, and they owned a chain of health food stores, she started to, introduce me to this other way of living. And as a kid in the family, I had to go work in the health food store in the summer, like all the other kids. And there was something magical about the smell of the health food store. You ever notice that? When you walk into a health food store, there's that smell. It's like all those beautiful ingredients. And anyhow, so Grandma Gigi, that was her name, this amazing spiritual woman. She was just an angel from God. There's just no other way to describe her. Anyhow, so I started to become introduced to this lifestyle and it just made sense. So I started learning about organic eating and supplements and all that stuff. And I started to, integrate those things into my life. And being a teenager, even then I had that kind of personality that was like, why take one when you can take 10 and I'll get better now? And of course, the same thing with supplements as there is with other things. Please don't go and take 10 of anything. It's just not a good thing. I wanted to be healthy right now. Of course, my health had improved and, life was getting good, but I had access to all these supplements and I'm trying this and trying that. Well, do I need to tell you what happened? of course, I got sick because I ate too many things. And I remember having to come home from working at the store and I was laid out. Like I probably had some sort of vitamin poisoning of whatnot. Well, Grandma Gigi and her little homeopathic pills, I remember just being sick as a dog on the bed. And she used to work with a pendulum. And so grandma worked with the pendulum and had her conversation with the universe, and the universe told her whatever. And she gave me a little handful of these little pills, and I took them and I was knocked out. I slept for, seemed like forever. I'm sure it was just overnight. And the next day, I remember coming to and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not sick anymore. I feel so much better. And she said, you know, God told me that you did too much of this and too much of that, and we need not do that anymore. And I was like, okay, you know, and so I went on, of course, to, you know, learn moderation, which is hard for someone like me, but I did it. And so from then on, it just stuck. You know, I'm also a product of the 80s, so I know all the other stuff too. You know, I've had my decades of not great health where I put all kinds of things in my system that was not good for me in the name of having a good time, you know, because that's what we do. And as life takes its full circle, you know, here I am back at this point. Now, I did also have my kids, 5 out of the 6 I had at home. So I'm a home birth mom. So I think that's, you know, that's super important. And that was a direct result of having one child in the hospital. And I had an idea even at 20 what birth should look like. And when I had that child in that hospital, it was nothing like I had planned in my mind. And back then you didn't have a birth plan. Like that wasn't a thing that they did. There wasn't any, you know, birthing centers, any of that here in Vegas. My oldest son was born here. And so I probably should have been sent home, but that's not what they do. So I ended up getting in the hospital. As soon as they hook you up to an IV, you know, it's over. So I was getting all the stuff in the bags and the pitocins and the things. And next thing I know, I'm in for an epidural, and you can't eat, you can't drink, you're stuck. And it was just a terrible experience. Anyhow, that again, you know, sent me on another journey of I'm never going to do that again. That's not what birth should be like. So I went on to have 5 other home births in 2 states. And it's just been an amazing journey. You know, and there's lots of things in between that we can talk about, but I'll let you get a couple of words in.
Wow, yeah, what an inspiration, and what a wonderful influence your mother played in shaping your education and holistic health, and all the things that she introduced into the whole family, right? Just natural health and wellness.
Yeah.
How has holistic living shaped your approach to raising your family?
Oh boy. So they didn't know any better. They honestly didn't know any better. And it's because my family had that philosophy as a foundation, that was just their environment. My sister went on to own health food stores. So again, my kids were raised in that environment. We lived on large pieces of property. We grew gardens. We had huge gardens. We had animals all over the place. There was chickens, so fresh chicken eggs. We got game. You know, we lived on originally from Southern California, but the second half of my life, I was in the Pacific Northwest, which is, it's my home. So I'm somewhere between Southern California and Washington State. And so, but my kids were raised in Washington State. So they didn't know any better. They didn't know that people had to go to the store and get bread because we homemade bread. We did the thing. We had fresh veggies and all of that kind of stuff. And, you know, when we're in our youth, we're not usually always so financially abundant. But we learned to grow and make our food. So I used to make their baby food. I would pick get the fresh veggies, I would steam them and make baby food. Like that was just a thing. One of my kids, my oldest boy, he'll cringe when I tell the story. When he weaned at like 1, I think it was about 1.5, he was the one I nursed the least. He kind of was done with me a little sooner than the others. His grandmother, we were in Utah at the time, we got him fresh goat's milk. And so he went from mama milk to fresh goat's milk. Now, back then, it was fresh goat's milk straight out of the goat teat. So it even smelled like stinky old goat's milk. But he went from that to that, you know, and then on to solid foods and things. But so they all cook. My boys, they all cook, they all garden. My grandkids, that's how they've been raised because that's how their environment is. When someone's well, they call grandma first, mom, the kids, whatever. And they know they'll run down to the health food store and go get the UMCA or the homeopathic remedy or whatever it is. They just really don't know anything different, which is so amazing. I'm so grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. When it comes to holistic anything, really, medication,
Yeah.
medicines, just eating from the earth, eating fresh food and cooking your own food and creating your own menu, pretty much. That's something, do you feel like that's something that's necessary in today's society, especially living in a city?
Oh, absolutely. I think even more so just today in this day of times, it's just people are more aware of they have choices and I think folks are finally starting to get that, here it is, because this is how I get to be the dreaded F word lady. This is where it starts. The F is the fork. It's the fork, and then it's this, the food. That's how I got to be dreaded F word lady, because the conversation for me in all my consultations and just in my daily life is always about food. Everything starts with food. Food is the foundation for our health. So if we're good whole foods, our body's going to be nourished and it's not going to be diminished. So we're going to flourish. When we stay close to the sad American Western diet, that's when we break down and we start to layer ourselves with all of the eases. We start to get all the itises and all the things. So, but today I think the majority of people have started to embrace, oh no, I think I have a choice and I can do something different. And so, I spent a good majority of my conversations with folks having that exact dialogue. Like you are in control. If you don't like the allopathic way of living, the way you're going to stay away from that is with the F word. Use your fork. Yeah.
The dreaded F word lady, and how is that made into, how were you using it in working that in with your clients?
So it's because, again, like I mentioned, it's always part of the conversation because whenever I do an intake with somebody, I have to dig really deep. I've got to ask a lot of questions. And as we're going through that, and then we start to focus on their eating style, that's where the truth comes out. First of all, I get all the symptoms of all the things and all the diagnosis and all the allopathic stuff. And then as we continue the conversation and get to the meat and the potatoes, which is that dietary action, what are they really doing? And thank goodness, folks feel comfortable with me. So they just tell me the truth, which is great. So I don't have to go dragging it out of them. But I find out, how they're poisoning themselves with food. Food is either our medicine or it's poison. We know that. We hear this, all the time. And it doesn't really matter today what condition we have or how we're trying to support ourselves. A good portion of the solution is always going to be on the fork. It just is. And I do not have a magic pill for anybody. I don't. What I do have is some suggestions of how they can make some small changes to make some big differences. We didn't get sick overnight, and we're not going to get well overnight. And so I have to remind people of that. Be easy on yourself. There is no magic pill. And a lot of times we need to remember that allopathic and holistic work together. Please don't go and throw your meds away. Don't do that. There's a process for becoming a wiener and getting off the meds and becoming a winner and not having to use them. But we don't drastically do that. We don't wake up one morning and go, I have all these eases and itises and screw those meds. I'm going to just throw those away because I'm going to go eat some kale. That's not how it works. I tell people, please don't do that. Listen, I do really well with working with their allopathic practitioners. Like, hey, I can develop that relationship. What do we have going on here? How can I best support you? I'm not here to, treat, prescribe, or diagnose. I'm not a doctor. I'm absolutely not a doctor. And I let them know that right away. I'm here to support you on your journey to optimal health, but I am not going to care more about your life than you do. So you are in control. You're going to make the choices. You're going to eat the kale or not eat the kale. You're going to walk around the block or not. And I want to empower people. I want them to feel empowered. And if it's one little baby step, if you're getting one good piece of fruit and not eating a piece of cake today, man, that's a win. I'm in. We just got to meet them where they're at.
There is a lot to unpack there. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
all of that. Wow. Yes, and you brought up a really great point, which I feel is very powerful. And we all have a choice in our health, and it really depends on us individually. What is it that we want? Do we
Yeah.
want to go down this path or this path? And
And it can change. It changes. Listen, when I was in my 20s, I was able to eat and drink and do all the stuff. When I was in my 30s, I was still able to get away with some stuff. When I hit my 40s, not so much. When I hit my 50s, oh no, some of those things didn't work at all. And I've done all the eating styles. I mean, everything you could possibly imagine, I've done it, eaten it, not had it, had too much. Nope, none of that. Gluten free. Not I continue to stay gluten free because I have that wheat sensitivity. But the idea is to heal. The idea should be to heal. And sometimes that is taking some things away. And then sometimes it's adding those things back when you've gotten to the place where we're in that place of healing. I feel I'm not always encouraging folks to go on those really restrictive diets unless it's absolutely necessary. And that should be delivered or diagnosed by a dietitian, and that I am not either. I am not that. And if someone needs to have that journey, man, I will join you in that journey while you have to walk that walk. But let's make sure that the idea is that let's heal the gut or heal bring down the inflammation, whatever it is that they're trying to support so that we can go on to be our most optimal self.
I love how you said that you partner up with traditional or allopathic doctors, and you
Yeah.
also are there to be a support system for whatever it is that they decide. What are some core principles of holistic nutrition that you can teach your clients or that you teach your clients?
So the main focus is I meet them where they're at. Everybody shows up in a different place. And now we generally have decades and decades of bad behavior and poor eating styles. Like I mentioned earlier, we didn't get here overnight. And so we're not going to undo it overnight. And the biggest thing is keep helping people to stay encouraged and to remember to be easy on themselves. And it's not just food. We have spiritual healing because a lot of times food is just the symptom, especially if we've got overeaters or people with trauma. Food is the easiest way that we can mask that because it's legal, it's easy, and it just has the propensity to develop into all kinds of the itises and the eases. So I really just meet people where they're at. And again, to just start with that baby step and to keep them encouraged and to break it down for them. Hey, today we're just going to do this thing, just one little thing. And if we can do one little thing a couple days in a row, shoot, before you know it, we've got a new habit. And then we'll pick on the next thing. What's the next little thing? So folks just want instant gratification. They want to be well right now. And it's just not how it is. And then it's the bigger picture, like I mentioned, with the holistic approach is mind, body, and spirit. So we start with the fork, okay, and then we've got to work on the body. So we need to get this thing moving. We can't sit on the couch and eat kale all day. That's not going to do anything for us. So we got to get out. And sometimes it's as simple as doing housework. Housework is exercise, like pushing a broom and vacuuming. That is exercise for some people. That's a big deal. Listen, if that's what we're doing now, hey, that's a win. That's an absolute win. And then we've got our mental health. How are we doing spiritually? Are we connected to other people? Do we have a good support system? Do we have a belief system? Where are we in all of that? So we need to address all the things. And when those other areas come up where they've got some weaknesses in them, this is where I become a resource center. I make sure that I keep myself connected to all the cool people who are doing all some stuff, because my lane is nutrition. And all my other people, you guys all have just these wonderful talents. And so it's important to me to have those relationships. So I can do my part, and then I get to refer them out to the rest of you who all have, these amazing talents that you guys all have. So, yeah.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Anne. Yes, yes. And I appreciate the support and the community aspect with all of this.
Yeah. It takes a tribe.
It really
It
does.
takes a tribe. Yeah. We have to stick together.
Yes, absolutely. And I love how you mentioned, and your emphasis is holistic approach, not
Yeah.
just one thing or the other. It's everything. It's mind, body,
Yeah.
and spirit.
Well, they show up thinking that it's a food thing, and the next thing I know, they're crying in my chair.
Mm.
And I'm so honored when that happens, and it happens more often than not. And of course, usually they're women. I sit mostly with women. But how much of a blessing is that they feel comfortable enough that they can sit with me, and whoop, there it goes. I'm always in such gratitude when that happens.
That's a true gift right there. Are there any common misconceptions about holistic health and nutrition that you'd like to just debunk right now?
It's not a quick fix. It is not a quick fix. Stop going to Dr. Google and stop going to TikTok for your support. Like, they're there to sell stuff. Come on now. Find someone who's qualified. Learn how to vet the people that you're getting your information from. Just because you saw something on TikTok or you saw it on Instagram, and then you come running into me and say, hey, I want to do this thing. I want to take this thing because it's going to cure whatever. No, no, no. No, no, no. Sit down, slow down, sit down. Let's have a talk about what it is that you're trying to support. And again, it's, you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You just can't. We need to just be easy on ourselves and know that true holistic healing takes time. It just takes time. But if we really want to reap the benefits that this lifestyle has, I threaten my kids all the time. I'm going to be 100 and just making you crazy until I go out. And honestly, I threaten them with, I'm making it to 104, and my husband, I'm going down with an orgasm. That's how it's happening. One last hurrah, baby. That's how I wanted to go. And God willing, that's how I go out. But what a way to go. And I'm fortunate enough to, I had a gal in my chair today she was 80. And I never would have guessed that she was 80. I never would have guessed she had some of the inflammatory things that she had going on. 80, come on, that's, you've done a couple of trips around the sun. She looked fantastic. A majority of the women that I sit with, they're either 50 or 80, late 70s, and they are full of fire. They've been doing this. They kind of get it. But even more so important than this sometimes, and I'm not going to put a whole lot of emphasis on it, but it's true, the placebo effect. If you are happy and you think your life is great, that will completely make everything acceptable. I've seen people who were sick doing all the right stuff. And then I've seen people who had the right attitude and were dying. But you couldn't tell them they were dying, because they believed that they were having the most amazing life ever. And you know what? It's like when I do my little morning wake up TikTok and Instagram with my people. We woke up this morning. We woke up this morning. We have one 24-hour period. That's it. One 24-hour period. And when I wake up in the morning, I just thank God for waking me up. Yay! I get to be useful, and I ask for that. Please, God, let me be useful for you and my fellow man. Whatever that is, I'm just going to show up. And my day goes, and things happen, and then I get to go to bed. And if I wake up tomorrow, awesome. If I don't, shit, it's been a good run.
That is a great attitude, a great affirmation to have in the morning. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love everything that was mentioned there. And you mentioned something about, waking up and sharing some wellness habits. What are some daily habits that you recommend for overall well-being?
Sure. So, first of all, gratitude. Wake up and be grateful. One, we just talked about you woke up.
Mhm.
Some people didn't wake up this morning. We did. So if you can't come up with something, I challenge people. Three things. Come on, you've got three things that you can be grateful for. It can be as simple as shoot, the garbage guy showed up this morning. You find three things. I personally have a couple of readings that I do in the morning. I am also a member of a 12-step group. So I do my daily readings from my 12-step recovery program. I also follow a lady, I call her Cosmo Lady, and I'll call her out because I can, I guess. Elizabeth Peru, I follow her on Facebook. I have for, I don't know, probably close to 10 years. And I love her because her teachings are about how we're just connected to the universe. It has nothing to do with men, women, or astrology. It's just, hey, this is what's going on in the universe today, and this is how this may affect you. And I mean, all these years, it's always been spot on. So I love that. And then I do a second reading from one of my other 12-step books, and then I sit. So my little chair that I'm sitting in right now has a window in front of it, and that's where the sun comes up. And when I'm making those readings, when I do my little TikToks and Instagrams in the morning, the sun is setting right here, and I just get to be, and feel that sun on my skin. And that's when I have my conversation with Creator. And then I just sit and listen and try to hear what the message is for me today. And I ask God to speak through me to other people or vice versa. Because sometimes it's not about me, it's about you. You speak to me because God speaks through you. So Creator comes in, shares with you to share a message with me. Sometimes I'm just a vessel and I love him. So I think morning ways, morning mantras, things like that, rituals are important. Now it's harder when we have kids and that kind of stuff because moms get up and they're running. I remember those days. With a mother of six, I spent many, many years getting up and just go. You're making breakfast for the kids, you're getting the car ready, you're getting everybody dressed, and well, it's crazy. And at this stage in my life, my last two kids are 17 and 15. So I'll tell you real quick how old my kids are because I think they're older than you. So my oldest boy just turned 36, and then my next son is 34, and then I have a daughter, she's going to be 31, and then I have one that'll be 32 and then 30, and then the 15 and the 17. So I took a 12-year sabbatical. I thought I was free. And then the universe was like, yeah, no, you still got two more left in you. I was like, oh, crap. Yeah. So I've got those teenagers. But I get in the morning, I get up earlier. So I get up and I make sure that I have that time to have my coffee, do my readings, spend a little time and contemplation. And then I make my husband breakfast. I get the kid ready and I go. And it's simple and I'm not rushed. And I start my day in peace and calmness and not craziness. But it's different if you got little ones. So for moms who have little ones, look, I'm sorry, you got to get up earlier if you want that, or you have to find another part of the day where you can kind of, yeah.
Yes, it's important to make time for yourself, regardless of how busy we are. At least 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Yeah,
something
for sure.
just to remind yourself of, that peace that we all have within that we're always trying to reach for. It's all within us.
Yeah.
And that those little gentle reminders that we just give ourselves are really important. I love your routine. I definitely can relate to some of those. Yes, I do a morning routine as well, and I think it's very important.
It sets the tone for our day.
It
I
does.
think we're much able to we're much more suited to handle the no matter what.
Mhm.
when we've started in that place of openness and calmness. I think we weather the storms. We can dodge and roll a little easier. Tuck and roll.
A little less reactive and more active, right?
Of course. Yeah. Great way to put it.
You also volunteer with women in recovery.
I
How
do.
do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, because I work a 12-step program, I am an active member of a 12-step program. I have been. I have a sobriety date, which is I have 11 years of sobriety. So working with women in recovery is super important to me. I have a sponsor. I sponsor. I go to meetings, weekly. I participate in conferences. I show up to events. I do whatever is asked. If they ask, I say, sure, whatever that can be. And that has been a huge foundation for me and my spiritual growth. Like my spiritual growth just blossomed when I was able to get it. And that meaning I had to work through some of my own crap. I had to get rid of the wreckage of my past. I didn't throw it away. I looked at it. I looked at my part, so I was able to walk through that. And now, I have this amazing life, and that's available to all people in recovery. We all have that. And so being able to share that with other people in recovery is huge for me. Addiction is out to kill and maim. It just is. And it is just such a terrible thing that just breaks families apart. It kills people. It destroys communities and societies. And, my passion in that just is, I'm on just as much on fire today as I was when I walked through the doors 11 years ago. And the statistics are stacked against us today, which is so sad. I think last time I heard it was like 2%. 2% of people in recovery are staying sober. So since I've been in for the last 11 years, there was probably, I don't know, 15 of us. My sobriety date is January 1st of 2014. I didn't pick that date. Creator picked it for me. There are 15 people that I probably walked through the door with. There's 3 of us that are left. Others have gone out, relapse, come back in, relapse, come back in, so their date keeps changing, and some have died. I have personally buried a very close friend last year who died a terrible, terrible alcoholic death. And I don't wish that for anybody. If folks who unfortunately have this disease were able to watch the end, they would put that drink and that drug down. They just would. And I'll be really honest with you. I qualify for every program with an A behind it. The only one that didn't get me was gambling. And the only reason it didn't was because it took my booze money or my dope money away. And I didn't want to give up either one of those two to risk it to not get what I needed to get. And so, I'm super open about, breaking my own anonymity, and it's only mine that I'm breaking, not anybody else. But I love the program, and I love how I just continue to grow because I stay active in it. And, it's just an amazing experience to watch someone. The one who just left was my sponsee. I take other women through the 12 steps. I'm there. A lot of times in my chair, when folks come to my office and they're like, oh, my gut hurts, the ism comes out, or they're being affected by another family member who may have, the addiction problem. So it's just everything is connected. It's just everything is just connected. But when women get restored back to good health and they've been relieved of their physical allergy and their spiritual malady, because that's what addiction is, societies and communities become whole again. We've got kids who have their mother back. We have partners who have their wife back. We have parents who have their daughter back. We become functioning members of society and not liabilities anymore. The women are the nurturers, and we're able to nurture again. And so, not that men aren't, men are, we love you, you have a part, but they're, the women were just a little different. And so when we heal and become whole, life gets better for all of us. So I do my part. I do what I can. I can't save them all. Most of them don't make it. They just don't. And it's unfortunate. But I have a living amends to make to my own kids. I've done all the work. I do the thing. And I am by no means, listen to these words, an example that I do not represent any of the A's. But what I do is I show that it works, good or bad. This is 11 years of sobriety. I have an amazing husband. We're celebrating 2 years of marriage tomorrow. Husband number 3. Yeah. Third was the best one. I have a fantastic life today. I have an education, a career. I love what I do. I meet the coolest people. I love you. I love you, love you. Like the people in my life today are your gifts. You guys are all gifts. I'm so blessed. Like I have nobody, there's nothing negative in my world. Creator is so good to me and is using me as a vessel and as a soundboard and as whatever she needs me to do. Man, I'm there. I'm suited up. I'm showing up, whatever it is. So on my arm, I've got a couple of tattoos that remind me where I came from, so I don't ever forget. And, it's just, I want what I have for everybody. If I could put it in a little pill and just hand it out, man, I would just dole that stuff out to everybody because it's a great life. It's a great life.
Your enthusiasm, your energy, your journey, the way the passion just flows through you, and it's infectious. I love it.
Oh.
Thank you. Um, yes, and congratulations on all the wins. Congratulations on
Thank you.
every win. And for all those for anyone, struggling out there, um,
Yeah.
what would you say to them? What piece of encouragement or words of wisdom can you share with them?
Stay. If you can get into the program, just stay. Now, there's all kinds of ways to get there. I'm not saying that the 12 steps is the only way. There's other ways for other people. I'm just sharing what worked for me. But there's lots of different ways to get to a place where that addiction that bondage gets broken. So find that and stay there. It's easier. We say a thing in the rooms. It's easier to stay sober than it is to get sober. It's easier to stay sober than it is to get sober. This is my third recovery date, and I'll share a little bit about last year. 2025 for me was no joke. Absolutely no joke. Physically, I went through more things in 1 year than I had been through in 30 years. I started out 2024 with 2 kidney stones that I had no idea I had. After those kidney stones were removed, I still was having discomfort in my abdominal area. I had some intuition that was speaking to me, but I was not listening to it. I finally had to listen to one of my practitioners, my nurse practitioners. I'm very close to nurses. I have 3 nurses that I work very closely with. And I finally took their advice because, I think I know something. So I listened to them and they said, listen, you need to go take this test. And I said, okay, it was a colonoscopy and an endoscope. So I did that. And when I did it, when I was in recovery, my doctor said, hey, you have a tumor and you have a tumor in your colon. And I was like, how can that be? I'm the queen of organic. I take supplements. I eat well. I'm not overweight. I'm fit. Like, that doesn't make any sense. How can that be? He said, you need to come back in 2 weeks and I'll have the result, but we need to make an appointment with the surgeon. And I'm like, oh shit. So I make the appointment with the surgeon. When I come home, I get it at the end of the month. 2 weeks later, I go back for the results of my biopsy on the tumor. He said, it's cancer. I'm like, again, are you talking to me? Because I only eat organic. I take supplements. I'm not overweight. I eat well. I have great blood pressure. I've got nothing. How can that be? Life shows up. Life shows up. And remember, I have no control over the air I breathe, the water, all the things. I did the A's, I did all the stuff, all the things. There's still residual effects of things. And then life just happens. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid. I was like, okay. So I made an appointment with the surgeon. I said, I have it at the end of the month. And my doctor said, no, you're going to go now. And he picked up his phone and he went, do, 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 do. And he texted the surgeon, the colon cancer doctor. I was in his office in 72 hours.
Wow.
So at 72 hours, I was in the surgeon's office. I met with him. My sons were with me because my husband was at work. And a wonderful, wonderful man. I just adore my colon cancer doctor. He is just the most fabulous, funny, super funny. We had this great time, but he explained everything to me. If you're going to have a guy who's going to take your guts out, please have a good relationship with him. And he's the best of the best. So we were chatting and talking, and he was explaining, and he was like, listen, here's my cell phone number. And, if a doctor won't give you his cell phone number, he shouldn't be a doctor. And I'm like, wow, this is cool. And my sons are like, hey, so what about this? And we're having all these questions, and everything was just, I was at ease. I was never afraid. And so his cell phone rang, and he said, hey, give me a minute. It's one of my clients. I got to take this. I'm like, no worries. He said, I want you to write down questions. So when I come back, I can answer those questions for you. So kids and I were talking. He came back in and he said, well, that was my Thursday surgery. He said, and they've canceled. So what are you doing on Thursday? And I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm going to go have surgery with you. So I went in, I did all the tests, I did the thing, and I think they did it up at Southern Hills. Anyway, they did a colon resection on me. So my tumor was right at the corner of the ascending colon and the transverse, right at the corner. He said, I don't even care what's on the other side of that tumor. It doesn't matter. He said, I'm taking this colon, we're taking this piece out, we're going to reattach it to your small intestine. You're going to be as good as new. You're in good hands. And I'm like, I trust you. I believe you. I prayed. He said, I'm not God. Here was the important words he said to me. I am not God, but I'm God's helper. I'm like, I'm in. I'm all in. And if I die on the table, I've had an amazing life. So we followed through. I did the test. I did all the stuff, all the EKGs and LMNOPs and all the things. And I had an amazing surgery. And after everything was said and done, and I'm recovering now, here I'm an addict. Okay. So I'm not only an alcoholic, but I'm an addict. I've had no drugs in my system other than an ibuprofen, in 35 years. And so, of course, I talked to my sponsor. I'm like, they're going to give me some medicine. I know I'm going to get some medicine. I wasn't worried about it, but it's part of my recovery. I need to check in and say, hey, I don't know what this stuff is going to do to me. I wasn't that type of drug addict. I was a different kind. And she's like, we're going to pray. You're going to be fine. It's all going to be good. I'm like, okay, cool. So I did. I had this low dose morphine. Now I let my doctors know ahead of time. Hey, I'm a recovered alcoholic and addict. They're like, okay, yep, we got you. No worries. There's special medicine, different types of medicine that they can give to people like me so that I don't run the risk of becoming addicted to any of that stuff. Again, it's medicine. It's just a different kind. So I come out of the surgery and I'm like, wow, I kind of feel kind of good for someone who just had their guts ripped out. And I have a little morphine drip and I'm in control of it. And he's like, this is low dose morphine. It's got some acetaminophen in it with it. And you take it when you need it. If you don't need it, you don't need it. If you need it, then take it. I was in the hospital for 3 days. I think I hit that thing 3 times, and it was just at night so that I could get some sleep. The pain wasn't unbearable, but it was enough that I was uncomfortable. So 3 times, 3 days, no big deal. 3rd day, I leave the hospital with nothing but a script for some ibuprofen, 800. That was it. And, I don't want to get high. I have zero desire to get loaded. All I wanted to do was get well. And I think, the majority of that, what I learned from, my sponsor and others who've been in that position, when you have pain and you take painkillers only help the pain. When you're not in pain and you take painkillers, that's a completely different effect. So I had no effect other than my pain doesn't hurt anymore. I'm not getting loaded. I'm just not getting high, and I'm good, and I can heal because my body needs to heal. So anyway, so we went through that. And then 7 months after that, I found out I had to have a complete hysterectomy because I had another old issue from when I was 20 pop up at 55. How old am I? 56, I think. And my organs were getting angry. And the best way to deal with that was to have those removed. And once you get the C word, they kind of look at you a little different. You got to deal with things just a little bit different. Bunch of tests, bunch of genetic testing, all of that came clear. But the best choice was to have the complete hysterectomy. Best thing I ever did. So I'm a sports model. So I wasn't having any more kids anyway, and had an amazing surgery with that. That was actually probably a little more trying for me than, the colon cancer surgery. But the point behind all of that, when I came through surgery with the colon cancer doctor, he said, thank you for doing your part. And he said, your part is that you were fit and thin. He said, I was able to get in, do the surgery, and get out. He said, so it was, a lot less than it normally is for most people. And I was like, so there's my benefit to holistic health, movement, eating well, having good spiritual foundation. I was never afraid. Never was I afraid. I was grateful. I remember laying on that table going, wow, I am so lucky. So many things the universe lined up perfectly for me, from the kidney stones to the hysterectomy. Any of those things could have gone awry, could have turned into something else, could have killed me. But the universe isn't done with me yet. There's things I need to do, like hang out with you.
Yeah, got a lot of hanging out to do. Absolutely.
We do. We're going to do magic.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I'm so excited. I'm pumped. Yes, life is just a blessing. And thank you so much again for sharing so much and being so open with your journey, with all the things that you dealt with. And I wanted to I wanted to talk a little bit more about the dreaded F word lady.
Okay.
What what made her come out? When was she born?
Oh my
When did she
gosh.
come out? When did she make an appearance? And is that your holistic business?
Well, that's there's a lot of moving parts to that. So yes, I am the dreaded F word lady. She came about probably a couple of years ago based on presentations that I do, because I'm always talking about the fork and food, and and then of course, I got this wild, crazy hair. It just she manifested, a few years ago. I've just recently started to bring her to life to social media. So you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on TikTok, you can find me on Facebook. You can sit with me with a private consultation. You'll have to PM me in one of those outlets, and we can talk about doing a private consultation. Mostly I'm doing a lot of presenting. I love public speaking. I love to come and give nutrition education. Speeches to whoever wants to hear it. So some of those are coming. I also have some courses that'll be coming up soon, and some presentations that will be available for folks to watch. So those are in the process right now of getting all put together. I'm still so Gen X. I'm moving through it, but I'm moving slow. So it's getting there. And right now I'm having a lot of fun with it. You can find Dreaded F Word Lady TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can email me if you want to at vitaminlady702@gmail. They can always reach me through you if they need to do that. So yeah, I'm available for many things. I love community outreach. If there's some events that are coming up and folks need someone to do any kind of holistic or nutrition presentations, I would be more than happy to help and facilitate any of those things, or whatever you need. Push a broom, I'm in.
Yes, yes. I love how you just ended it with like push a broom. They're gonna come.
Yeah, push a broom. I can push a broom. Pour drinks, water, food, whatever. I just like to be a part of.
Yes, and I will make sure to leave all the links below, all the contact links, the emails, all of those down below so people can check those out and check you out and all the work that you do. Thank you so much for that. And I
Thank
wanted to,
you.
if, I mean, there's just so much. I mean, we could go on for hours, I feel. I wanted to touch a little bit about food and addiction. And
Yeah.
you see that a lot with the clients that you work with. Are they addicted to food? Is it the food itself that they're addicted to? Or is it all of these different chemicals and preservatives and all the processes that are added to the food that causes
It
this?
is. It's all of the things, but it definitely starts with that food-like stuff. It's not food. If you listen to some of the really experienced physicians who are having this conversation at huge levels, they'll say, that is not food like stuff. It was created that way for that reason because it's sick care, not well care. People aren't, they're not going to the doctor if they're eating broccoli. It's just not how it works. You don't get fat from eating broccoli and cabbage and apples. It just doesn't happen. We don't overeat those things either because our body doesn't crave it like that. We're able to stay satiated after we have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But when we're eating ultra processed food, man, that just gets all those receptors going and those addictive things kicking in. And, we're like, yeah, I gotta have more. And so we are a society that is absolutely addicted to sugar, and we have just insulin resistance that's through the roof. That's one of my favorite conversations that I love to have. And it's one that I have because it's the foundation for the majority of the diseases is insulin resistance, which has to do with glucose, which has to do with carbohydrates and refined sugars. So when I'm having that conversation with them about, their eating style and what are they eating, and because they're type 2 diabetic, or, type 1 is genetic, but they've got cardiovascular disease, and that on its own is just an umbrella for, 15 other conditions. It's just the foundation is always right there with that food-like stuff. It's not food. One of my favorites, doctors, Dr. Ben Bickman out of BYU, and you can find him on YouTube. He's just amazing. Like, he's a cell biologist and metabolic physician or metabolic scientist. He says no bags, boxes, or barcodes. I still that, but he said I could. He said you all can. No bags, boxes, or barcodes. Remember that, people. That is food-like stuff. If I was doing one of my regular presentations, I would have a broccoli or a carrot or, some other kind of fruit or real food. There's no barcodes. There's no box. There's no bag. So, Michael Pollan, if it doesn't rot, don't eat it. It's simple, but we've gotten away from all of that because we're a society of convenience. I'm on the go, gotta go, eat and go, eat and go, eat and go, so we're grabbing the food like stuff and we're stuffing it in there and then we're stuffing it in here. And then 10 years later, it's slow. It's not one day of eating crap where we get sick. It's decades and decades and decades. And what happens is the body's going into a deficit because it's not getting any nutrients. And then 10 years later, you come to with a diagnosis from your physician that's that long. It wasn't one day. And now trying to reverse 5 different eases. Yeah. So, let's just not get there. Let's make some changes today and get tests. People don't test. They're like, oh, I feel fine. I feel fine. You know what? I felt fine too when I had colon cancer and didn't know I had it. And I had a little discomfort. But had I gotten tested 10 years prior to when my nurse practitioners told me to, it would have been a polyp and it wouldn't have been colon cancer. I'm not complaining about it because my story was for me to tell my story about my colon cancer and my good health. And I didn't die because of it. No one else has to die either. Eat well, get your test done, especially after 50. Those are things we got to do. You got to do the colonoscopy. We need to do hormones. We need to do all the things, the A1C, get your insulin tested. See if you're insulin resistant. I mean, that is the majority of most things happen because we are just so full of insulin and our glucose levels are through the roof. So yeah, that's a conversation I have a lot. And if that's the one thing that I could preach to people, please get the carbs down. Get those carbs down. Unless you're really, really active, we don't need it. Do you know how much sugar your body actually needs to function to stay alive? 1 teaspoon. One stinking teaspoon. That's it. And guess what? If you don't eat it, guess what happens? Your liver will make it for you. So we could have a diet of 0 sugar. 0. And it's not even the sugar, it's the added sugars. So when you look on the back of the bag or the box with the barcode and you see the part where it says sugar and then it'll say added sugars, stay away from the part with the added sugars and look at how many sugars. Get that down to as little as possible. And that will help to improve, one's health tremendously. It's about being aware. Get aware, people. Pay attention. It's not that hard.
Yes, get aware, pay attention, and thank you for bringing. Yeah. That's going to be a t-shirt right there. Yes. So when it comes to the teaspoon, I love that you brought that up. I love that you're bringing everything up because I'm like, whoa, okay, all of this information is so valuable and so many people can take away whatever it is that they need from it. With that is a lot of the times, a lot of people, they start their morning, they start off with a teaspoon of sugar in their coffee, even in their tea.
Yeah.
And then it's just a consistent cycle over and over.
All day long.
And it's
Yep.
just a compounding effect. And
Yeah.
um yeah, it's the compounding effect. Can you go into a little bit of how the compounding effect looks like or what it is?
Well, it turns into type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease. NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. That comes from processed food. That's from sugar. And what people fail to connect the dots is carbohydrates is sugar. Food is glucose, which equals energy. We need food for energy, but we don't need food-like substances because all of that is just refined food-like stuff. So when you get up in the morning, instead of having the coffee with all that fake ass sugar, the fake stuff, the poison, that's what I call it. Throw that crap away. We have wonderful options today. There's some beautiful creamers that don't have any sugars in them and full fat. I'm a full fat girl. If there was a style of eating that I adhere to, and I'm not a label person, but I get a little more keto. I get a little more paleo. I get, even some carnivore. I'm not saying anybody needs to adhere to any of that, but the thing that's in common with all of those, no processed food. No processed food. So have your coffee in the morning. When I do my little morning TikTok, I've got beautiful organic coffee and I've got this amazing fatty oat milk. I got this oat milk, and it's not that I don't like dairy because I do. Sometimes I have full fat dairy, a half and half or whatever, but you have to learn to retrain our taste buds because they just get destroyed. And artificial, sugars, I could do a whole nother hour with you on that, but that isn't, if you can stay away from that, I'd rather that someone have a little bit of monk fruit or some stevia, because again, the idea is to keep that glycemic index down, the glycemic load. So let's not start the day with sugar spikes. Let's start the day with this nice lazy river so that we can sustain ourselves. Because when we shoot that sugar up first thing in the morning or in the afternoon, we get really high and crazy for a minute and we're all energized, and then it just crashes because insulin comes in and gets all that sugar and it has to get it into the cell. So once that glucose gets in the cell, 2 things happen, and this is it. The most important 2 things. One, we're going to burn that glucose for energy, keeps our heart going, our intestines going, our lungs breathing, all of that. The refrigerator's on the inside. That keeps the motor running. The second part is we're going to store it. And we store that as fat. It's going to go into the liver. It's going to go into the muscles and the tissues. We're going to save that for a later date when we don't have any food. Here's the deal. You're not having a lack of food. This is 2025. We're not the ancestral people we were umpteen years ago. So we're not ever in a place of lack. I'm also a big fan of intermittent fasting. Miss a meal, people. Miss a meal. You will not die. No one has ever died from intermittent fasting because it's a choice. It's not scarcity. You're making a choice not to eat this time. And when you do that enough and you get good at it, your body does a thing, it becomes metabolically flexible. So it stops burning glucose because you're not putting any in there, and it starts to burn fat, which is all the stuff that's on the outside, all this other stuff that we have. This is like a pantry, the stuff you can see on the outside. That's the pantry. It will start to eat the food in the pantry. That's where we want to be. So I'm a big advocate of intermittent fasting. It's easy. It's cheap. You're not spending all that money on food. Look, you're only eating, maybe if you do a 6 or an 18-hour fast, or 24-hour, get to that place. It takes time. But if we just spent less time eating, we're saving more money. It's a good thing. And then you feel better. And then we get to burn through some of that excess fat. We can get to a place of autophagy where all those old cells get regenerated. They go away, they eat themselves up. We get new cells. Our body needs to do that. I think all of that is super important. So I like to fast. I fast almost daily, except on my days off, because those are my fun days where I just run around town and I eat all the beautiful food that Vegas has to offer. So.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of fasting as well. Thank you so much for sharing that, and to put it in a way where it can be very accessible, because people hear fasting sometimes and they're like, oh no, I'm gonna be without eating, so I am depleting my body of something that it needs. It's like, not really.
Yeah.
Necessarily.
No. No.
Yes. I love fasting. I have this I'm trying this new fasting regimen, I guess you could call it, but I'm only eating when the sun is out.
Okay.
And I am not eating when then it's dark out. If I do get any like, oh, I'm craving this, I'm craving that, that tells me something more about my body. But I just, wash it down with some liquid, right? Some water, lemon water,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. You can even have tea.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling good.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it. I think I just applaud anyone who does any kind of fasting. We should stop eating at a time. I saw a gal recently who had a circadian rhythm eating style thing. I think it was called, there was circadian clock or whatnot. But when we were a different person, we did not wake up first thing in the morning and start eating because we didn't have any food. We had to go find it. And then we had to get it. And then, or it got us, it was just, we weren't just sitting around doing whatever, shoveling food into and then we rested. And today we don't rest. We're so busy, got to go do this, blah, blah, blah. We don't, and that's probably just as important, if not more so, is making sure folks get a good night's sleep. Go to bed. Shut your phone off. Turn the computer off. Turn the TV off. Don't listen to me after 7 o'clock. Bring your lights down. Let your melatonin come up. We are wired to, when the sun comes up, our cortisol comes up because that's our stress hormone, our energy hormone, for us to get up. At night, as the sun starts to set, our melatonin starts to raise that hormone. But if we've got lights in our face all day long because we're doing this, or that, there's all kind, that melatonin doesn't get a chance to sit in. And then we don't create a positive sleep hygiene routine. And so, teaching people to do that is also another conversation. Like, we've got it. I've been practicing this now for a minute, trying to be in bed, a little late tonight, but by 9 o'clock. Shut it down, get the lights down, wind it down, put the phone away. I have these really cool headphones. It's a face mask thing. It's all nice and mushy and soft, and it's blackout, and it's got a couple little speakers in the ears because I like to listen to nighttime stories for adults, which are amazing. And then a lot of times I'll listen to reprogramming stuff because, when our subconscious is coming about at the end of the day, we're more susceptible to getting new programs. So I do that too. And I'm blacked out, I'm sleeping, and I use the noise machine because I live by a street that's really noisy, but I do well with that, that white noise in the background. So it's all kind of tricks. We just kind of find what works. I have never ever, and I'll close with this, I'll shut up. I've never made it through an adult sleep story, and I do not take any sleep aids. I do take my old lady crazy hormones, but that's a different podcast. We'll save that one for a different day.
I love it. And dreaded F word lady, you crack me up.
Uh,
Thank you so much for everything. This conversation
oh, thank
is
you.
very enlightening, very vibrant, and we're definitely gonna team up again and do some more
Yes,
on different
for sure.
subjects and just share the knowledge and share the wisdom with everyone for sure. For any
Thank you.
Yes, my pleasure. Uh I like to ask some really fun and just random questions. If money were not an issue, what would you be doing?
What I'm doing right now, nothing would be different. If I had a buttload of money, the only thing would be different. Would I would create more opportunities to be with my family because everybody works. Everybody's really busy doing their thing. I would put together some really cool vacations where we could just go and hang out. But other than that, I wouldn't change a thing. I could hit the lotto tomorrow. I'm still going to do podcasts. We're still going to hang out. Nothing's going to change. But we may just go do it somewhere cool. That's all. The
I'm
Bahamas or somewhere. I don't know.
Awesome. Yes. And anything fun that you're reading right now? Anything fun that you want to share?
I am an avid reader and I'm constantly reading. I'm also a Gemini. So I do many things at one time, but I am finishing a book called Why We Get Sick or How Not to Get Sick by Ben Bickman. By Dr. Bickman. And I love that because he really explains the insulin resistance and the glucose and all the diseases, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes. Like that's my idea of a good time of reading. I also am finishing Metabolical. Again, if you could turn it, let's see if I can get it over there. That picture up there is a poster of metabolic health. That's how geeky I am. You see the chakra thing at the bottom, and then that up there is a picture. It's a poster of metabolic health and how it actually affects us. So my reading is all about health. But they're great books. So I'm finishing those right now.
Love it. Thank you. And thank you again for sharing everything and for being here on the Healing Lounge. Really appreciated. Did you want to leave, or what is one key takeaway about health and healing that you want to share with the listeners right now?
Just eat real food. Just eat real food and start with one meal at a time. That's it. One meal at a time and real food. No bags, boxes, or barcodes. That's it.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anne. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, we have the Dreaded F Word Lady and Ross, and all of our links will be down below so everyone can check her out. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.